The San Jose Sharks fall 5-2 against the Buffalo Sabres. I don't know what it is about Buffalo. It's just that shade of blue is some kind of kryptonite. We'll talk about all that and more after this. But first, if you want to be a part of the show and join the conversation, chat with us and fellow Sharks fans across the page, that being the YouTube page, or on the Instagram, the Twitter machine, Facebook, Threads, Discord, Reddit, TikTok, all that and more over at tealtownusa.com. And of course, you can always support the pod over at Venmo at tealtownusa. We're always trying to get better internet for Buckeye. It'll never get old. Well, you know what else never gets old? My co-host, Mr. Ian Reed. How are you doing this afternoon, Ian?
I'm all right. I hope I don't get old because, man, I've done I think this is 3 in a row. So I hope you guys aren't sick of me yet because I think I have one more coming up too.
Yeah, what is this, Groundhog Day?
I don't
know. Well, I mean, since we last left you, the San Jose Sharks had a very nice emotional win against the Rags. And then follow it up with, I would say, a performance that was fairly decent off the hop. At the first period, the Sharks were able to score the first 2 goals. Marc-Edouard Vlassic getting his third on the season with Eklund and Emberson getting the assists there at 8:05. I will say the shots were very heavily skewed in favor of the Sabres, but I think the Sharks were able to really execute on their odd man rushes, and I think we're able to do just enough to get some lateral movement with the goaltender that they didn't need to generate a lot of shot volume. But I mean, to me, territorially, Buffalo looked like they had kind of pushed play for most of the first. I mean, what'd you see in?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of the typical way that the games where the Sharks have gone, right? They've generally had to been very good making good on what little they do because they don't do a lot in a lot of these games. I think that Buffalo definitely had the shot volume. I think they definitely had the quality of shots too. I thought, the score would say otherwise, but I didn't think Kappo had an overly rough game. I thought he was fine. The Sharks just couldn't outscore their problems in this one. And yeah, I mean, it is what it is at this point.
Yeah, but, getting back to something that they did do well, I mean, Jan Rutta jumping up in the play and, pushing a little bit of offense from the blue line, which was nice to see on the second Sharks goal. That would be his second of the season, and William Eklund would get his 13th assist of the season. So, I mean, you're seeing, a young guy in William Eklund doing a lot of creative assisting on a couple of goals. And, this is what you want to see from this kid. I mean, we want him to excel. There's, considering where he's drafted, there's a lot of pressure for him to excel and needing to be a home run type pick. But, again, it takes players all different at different levels, different times to go forward, right? And as a player that, coming over from the Swedish Elite League and having to change a little bit of his style, having to fill out into his body a little bit more, William Eklund was going to be a little bit of a project, and not necessarily not because of talent, but just because he's got to fill out and he's got to play the game here. Yeah. So this is all good for me, Ian. I mean, good to see that he again is chipping in and.
Yeah, I've liked William Eklund this season. I mean, this season, let's be honest, there's been more low points than high points. So you have to kind of look for some of the things that you like going forward, right? And I think going forward, I like what William Eklund has done in his first full season in the NHL. I think that, on this team where offense has been hard to come by, he's factored in his fair share. A guy like Zetterlund I've been super happy with. I think he's been a guy who's super grown on me now. He's probably one of my favorite players on this team. Where starting the season, I'm like, I don't know what this dude's all about. And I had questions and I was skeptical, but now like Zetterlund's one of my favorite players on this team. I think at this point, so there's definitely been some positive points. And you're talking about offense from the blue line. I like Vlassic's game a lot this game, and that's not something that I say very often on this show. But I thought offensively, like he was really, he can sometimes be really really sneaky on how he kind of pinches into the play without people realizing he's there. Because I think a lot of people look at Vlasic and they think of him as, a defensive first guy. And sometimes, I thought he picked his spots really well to get up into the offense this game. And the Sharks, he scored a goal, and the Sharks I thought were
But
on their
Ian,
way.
hashtag QMJHL stats.
Yes.
For Vlasic, I mean, right? Because he was pretty prolific in junior, right? As far as scoring goes, I mean, the Sharks kind of thought they were going to get a little bit more of a two-way kind of guy when they drafted him, right?
I mean, the talent was definitely like, yeah, I don't know.
But anyhow, getting back to the game, J.J. Petrarca would get his 17th of the season. Dylan Cousins and Owen Power getting the assist there. That one kind of hurts for some of those stats and draft nerds who felt the Sharks should have picked, Petrarca at the drafting spot that we had a few years ago. Doug Wilson Jr., helming the draft development team at that point. And, again, one that kind of slips away and you're like, ugh, that kind of always stinks. It's one that you would love to have seen in Teal, or at least get the shot to develop in the Shark system. But, the crux of it is developing in the Shark system, right?
Yeah, I mean, I a lot of people really like JJ Peterka, and I get it. The 2020 draft, like there was a time where I think like the 2020 draft, I wasn't really paying much attention to prospects or anything. So like I didn't have a board for that draft. So I'm not going to sit here and be like, I have no receipts to pull out where I'm like, oh man, Peterka was totally at the pick there. A lot of people did like him though. A lot of people didn't like the Weisblatt pick. I get it. I love Ozzy Weisblatt. But that's the guy we have, right? So you can kind of relitigate these draft classes, and I think there was a lot of that on Twitter during this game, and I can definitely understand why. Peterka has been really really good for the Sabres. Yeah, I mean it sucks obviously when a guy kind of slips through your fingers like that, but it's done. It was what, 4 years ago now.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So this is coming in from the locker room, and thank you, Puckeye and AJ, for always getting us the quotes and stuff. So Couture saying, I don't think we did enough around the net, and in our own end we were as tight. They turned their game up a notch, and we didn't. And I mean, kind of dovetailing back into the game at 18:01, Jordan Greenway gets his sixth of the season, and one of those. I mean, first off, I've always loved Jordan Greenway, the player. I think he's just, really good, solid body, a guy that you'd love to have on a playoff run. Somebody who's just he kind of reminds me of a Holmstrom light, right? Just one of those big bodies that you just can't move around, and just you hate playing against him, but man, you'd love him to play on your team. But Tuck and Middlestat getting the assists there, and this is kind of what the crux of what Couture was saying, right? They kind of got bullied a little bit in front of their own net tonight. And I think this afternoon, one guy, I think in particular, you look at, Ohotiuk was pretty victimized in his own zone this afternoon. And we've talked about how we kind of started off as maybe seeing him as something that could be a valuable piece, maybe as like a 6'7" kind of fringe kind of guy, downgraded to I don't even know if he's like a third pairing AHL guy, right? I mean, it's just a really precipitous fall, and I don't know if it's just that he's hitting that rookie slash like youngish defenseman wall where you get to a certain point and they adapt or they don't. And I don't know what are you seeing and what are you reading on Ohotuk?
I've never been a fan. I think this is a guy who I understand why they wanted to bring him in, right? He's a big guy. And he plays a heavy game, but I've never gotten, like, this is a player I've never gotten. This is a player I've been pretty critical of all season. This is a guy who I think, now obviously injuries being what they are, I guess there's a spot for him on this team, but this is a guy that I would have sent down to the Barracuda forever ago. Yep. At this point. Like, you have a guy like Knyzhov down in the AHL right now, and I think he's a better defenseman than Ohotuk.
Knyzhov's kind of a known commodity at this point, right? I mean, you know what you're going to get from him, and I mean, I think he's a little bit more steady than Ohotuk is at this point.
Yeah, I don't know what the Sharks see in him. I understand he's a guy that he's a part of the Timo Meier trade, so obviously they think very highly of him, but whatever they see, I don't see it.
Yeah. Well, going into that second period, the Sharks would then give up the tie that they were able to mount in that first period, and Alex Tuch getting his 14th of the season, with Casey Middlestat getting his 30th goal or 30th assist on the season. Excuse me. And one guy that we didn't talk about being inserted into the lineup, and at the cost of someone else, right? So Henry Thrun going on the injured reserve, and Muka Madolin getting called up, and Couture adding. He's got great poise. He's young, big, tall, but strong, and I thought he had a decent showing.
Yeah, I thought he had a good game. I mean, first game in the NHL, I thought he was good. Maybe, I think it's easy to look good when your third pairing's an absolute tire fire. But I didn't really have any like issues with his game that are new or different from what I've seen from him in the AHL. I think it's nice that he gets an opportunity to come up and get some games in before the trade deadline. Well, there's still some other people on this team to play with, and I think I liked putting him with Jan Rutta. I thought it was a good pairing. It's a good guy to learn from. So, yeah, I mean, I really liked his game, and I'm glad that he got a shot to kind of show something at the NHL level.
Yeah, Jan Rutta has that like elder statesman Paul Martin feel to him, doesn't he?
He's been there, done that, multiple cup rings.
Yeah. So Muka Madolin's stat line on the evening, he'd end up at 3 shots. He'd have 2 block shots, which is nice. He'd have a hit, 1 takeaway, and 2 giveaways on 19 minutes and 21 seconds. So also good to see that the Sharks, and the staff playing him, a good amount of time, especially if they're going to call him up.
Yeah, because that's the concern, right? Like the last thing you want is to bring a guy up like that and then play him 4 minutes and then overtax the rest of your blue line. It's nice that the coaching staff, not only were they, obviously they enjoyed the call up, they liked having him being called up, but they trusted him to go out and try and be a factor in this game.
Yeah, and then, unfortunately, it wouldn't be enough of a factor, and in that third period, J.J. Petreka would again strike at 4 minutes and 33 seconds in. Cousins and Quinn would get the assists there, and then Dylan Cousins would get the empty netter unassisted at 15:44 with the Sharks pulling the goaltender pretty early, 4 minutes.
Yeah, Patrick Waugh's back in the league, so David Quinn's like, I got to do this before Waugh does it. Like, he's got to be in the game.
Yeah, I totally feel you on that one, Ian. And you know what? The tank is back on, ladies and gentlemen.
Never a doubt. Never had a doubt. I mean, I said this last game, right? Like, enjoy the wins, because when it stops, and it could stop for a while now, looking at some of these upcoming games.
Yep.
I mean, other than they do have a game against the Ducks, and they do have a game against Seattle in the middle of, or not Seattle, sorry, Columbus in the middle of February. I mean, there's points that they could probably pick up, but I think it's going to be another bunch of losses coming up. That's my opinion, which is what we want ultimately.
And one of the guys leading the charge on the tank, Mr. Marc-Edouard Vlassic here, was in the rush. He was skating. He was moving really well since he's been in the lineup and on a regular basis scoring goals. He's got, 3 goals? That's vintage Marc-Edouard Vlassic. A little bit of tongue-in-cheek there from the captain. Maybe not. I don't know. But, it's good to see that there's some some comedic relief, with Cooch back in the locker room, and it's just nice to see him with the guys skating, and again, his injury and just kind of getting back from kind of how gruesome it was. It's just good to see him on the ice, and good to see them starting to integrate him back in. And again, the comedic relief is always great between him and Eddie, right? I mean, Eddie has just that great deadpan, and he's just able to just say the most ridiculous things with the most straight, stone cold face. I love Marc-Edouard, and hopefully he'll retire, and he'll have played as a Shark his whole career. But we'll see where he ends up, and where they end up. But the Sharks end up on the wrong side of a 5-2 loss against the Buffalo Sabres. And, shots 36-25 in favor of Buffalo. Clearly the Sabres push play. I think their lineup, kind of really did lengthen out at the end. And you could kind of see that, again, the Sharks are getting more depth, but still not enough to compete, and still not enough to be anything other than a middling team at this point.
Yeah, I mean, the Sabres are an interesting team, right? Because I think when you're in the situation that the Sharks are in, and we know the goal at this point, right? We're looking at the draft, but this is a team that's been looking at the draft for quite a while now, and this is kind of like this is the warning. This is the team that you don't want to end up being when it's all said and done. Is this team in Buffalo? Obviously, look at the Eastern Conference is a tough conference. There are a lot of really, really good teams in the Eastern Conference, and obviously there's some juggernauts in the Eastern Conference. Let's be completely honest here. And in order for a team like Buffalo or Ottawa, teams that have been really bad for a while, to make a move and get back into the playoffs, you have to unseat some of those teams. And so far, for different reasons, obviously, that's been a difficult thing for both teams, and obviously Buffalo, I think they made a mistake in how they handled Jack Eichel. Because obviously, you wonder, you look at this team and you see what this team has, and you wonder what could have been if, you just let Jack Eichel get the surgery he wanted to begin with before you completely tanked that relationship. And
the surgery that he picked is also, playing out quite nicely for him, and the way in which it's worked out with Vegas. So,
well, exactly.
That's my point. Yeah. One other thing I wanted to bring up to you, Ian, on Buffalo is not only is it the mismanagement of the roster on the business side, but I think culturally, Buffalo has just been a losing culture for a long time.
Well, this is why so I understand why people have issues with David Quinn, right? Because there's obviously, look at, do I think he's the greatest coach to ever coach? No. Do I think that there's some things that definitely perplex me? Yes. But when the one thing that you can say in Buffalo is not like you want to talk about culture. I mean, how many coaches have they gone through?
Exactly.
When things didn't go even remotely the right direction, well, got to change the coach, and then we got to change the coach again, and then we got to change the coach again. And I think it's hard to establish anything now. Look at, I understand people in the chat are going to start screaming at me and being like, yeah, but what is David Quinn establishing here, and is that going to be good long term? And I will concede that point. I'm not sure if it's going to be good long term, but I think it's better than a new voice every 6 months, every 9 months.
There is something to be said for stable
change. Yeah, there's something to be said for stability.
Exactly.
Especially in a rebuild. So is this all going to work out? I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball, but I would rather, I think David Quinn does some things that definitely annoy me, but I'd rather some stability rather than just completely upheaving everything every time something goes remotely the wrong way.
Yeah, and just having the same voice, the same system, the same expectations from season to season. You can go into an off season and kind of know what the off season program is going to be, kind of know where you need to be every time you switch staffs up. I mean, you're again, philosophies change, how people do things change. If whether or not they change up on the entire staff, could be just a small reshuffle, could be a complete reorg shuffle. But again, something to be said about stability across a franchise. So, I feel bad for the people of Buffalo, long suffering, and boy, that sports city is just, it pays its dues insofar as them watching their sports and loving their teams and just getting crushed.
I mean, Buffalo used to be the king of television. Like, they used to draw better numbers on TV than anyone else in the league.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Ian, I mean, I think this kind of bookends this one. Again, the Sharks losing 5-2 against Buffalo. Buffalo, trying to claw back in. I think they're 7 points out now. But trying to make a go of getting back into this thing, but no, we're back, and thank you for everybody who decided to stick around. But we were just quickly talking about hockey is for everyone, and Pride Night, and again, just some great organizational shout outs to the San Francisco Earthquakes, and again to gay pride and gay rights advocacy throughout the Bay Area. So very awesome to see. And then, I mean, quickly, Ian, but yeah, I know we want to quickly wrap this up. It wasn't too much of a thrilling show, but we have to talk about a New Jersey. I mean, we saw a New Jersey got released. The new Sharks Finn Cali, almost Black Armor-esque type jersey. What were your thoughts?
Yeah, it's fine. I like the Finn logo. Like, I've always been a fan of the Finn logo. I'm glad they brought the Finn logo back, but I don't like it as a primary logo. I think it's very plain. So I don't know, but it's fine. I mean, to me, it seems silly to release it when they did.
Yeah, I thought
at the end
timing
of the season,
was a little
after Christmas,
odd.
and it's weird, right? Because there's going to be no third jerseys next year, from what I understand. So the timing of it all just seems really weird.
That's kind of what I thought too. And I like the Finn logo. I think it's really an awesome take on the third logo, and using it as a primary, I think, is a very interesting take. Again, the team isn't doing so well, so maybe generating some hype, generating some interest, and bringing in something to talk about. So that's cool, I guess. Gives us something to talk about.
I mean, I personally can't wait for them to win all 11 games, and then we can just blame the jerseys for screwing up the tank. That's what I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, right. Okay. Well, I think you can. I think we'll go ahead and wrap it up here, and we want to say thank you to everybody for showing up and staying through this particular cast. Unfortunately, we had a quick internet breakdown, but I'm glad that we were able to get the backups in and get it back up to YouTube. But it looks like we're just kind of chugging along. So, anyhow, Ian, I'll let you have your final thoughts and where the people can find you.
Yeah. When the Sharks do bad, it's good. At least at this point in the season. Barracuda had a nice win last night. They play tonight against the Calgary Wranglers. It is free on AHL TV. All you have to do is make an AHL TV account if you haven't made one already. It is the free game tonight. I believe it starts at 6 Pacific, 9 Eastern. So if you want to catch some free Barracuda action, and if you didn't catch the game last night on TV, they'll be on AHL TV for free tonight. So check them out.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Ian, for that, and you can find them across the social media using the Ian Blocks Hockey Twitter sphere. as far as where I am at, you can use my first name ERIK, last name LANDI across all the social media garbage. And final thoughts: when the Sharks do good, it's good. When the Sharks do bad, it's good. Question mark. But
Sounds right to me.
Yeah, right. But in case you missed it and you want to check us out again, smash the like, the subscribe, and the bell button for getting those notifications after we go live. Of course, if you're a long timer, you know that we go live after every single Sharks game. So I don't know why we do this to ourselves, but we continually do it. And we also put it up on podcast form, so you can also commiserate in our misery on podcast form as well. That being on the Apple Podcast store, Google Play Store, the YouTube Rewind if you want to see our tiers, in the video, SoundCloud, Spotify, TuneIn, iHeart, Odyssey. And you can check out all of our collective misery over at tealtownusa.com. You have to have some levity in this, folks.
Absolutely.
For everybody here at Tealtown USA, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. And like we always say around these parts, hockey is for everyone, but also keep it real, keep it teal, keep it real teal, and we'll catch you after the next game. Good afternoon, folks.